Oh shit. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Can anyone in the chat hear me? If you can, just push one. All right, we got confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 365, Black Cannabis Chat. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible. Also hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. If you want to engage in the discussion and contribute, there'll be a link in the chat for you to click on. You click on the link, make sure you raise your hand so that one of us can acknowledge you and bring you onto the panel. If you don't raise your hand, no one will see you. All right. There's a document in the description beneath the video for you to follow along with. I'll go ahead and get started. All right, let me get started with the first item on the docket. All right, this one is from the monthlyfool.com. 6 states trying to legalize recreational cannabis in 2020. In case you hadn't noticed, cannabis sales are soaring around the world. According to the State of Legal Cannabis Markets report from ArcView Market Research and BDS Analytics, worldwide legal weed revenue more than tripled between 2014 and 2018 to $10.9 billion. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg. Yet the United States, the most lucrative market for marijuana in the world, remains a hostile place for cannabis, at least at the federal level, despite growing support among the public to legalize cannabis on a national level. Lawmakers have stood pat on their Schedule I classification of pot. This ensures it remains entirely illegal at the federal level. However, this hasn't stopped individual states from legalizing cannabis in some capacity over the past 23 years. Beginning with California in 1996, a grand total of 33 states have legalized medical marijuana. Of these 33 states, 11 have passed legislation allowing for the legal consumption and or sale of recreational weed. And this could be just the beginning. In 2020, a major election year, there are 6 states currently trying to get a recreational marijuana initiative or amendment onto their ballots. Understandably, these initiatives or amendments are in review or signature gathering stage at the moment, which offers no assurances that they'll eventually make it onto the ballot for vote in November 2020. Nevertheless, the wheels have been put into motion to potentially legalize adult use weed in the following 6 states and listed in alphabetical order. Our first state is Arizona, arguably the most logical state to try to pass a recreational marijuana bill in 2020.
Hey, Mike, I think you dropped out, man, because we can't hear you.
They got Mike. They got Mike again.
They got him again.
Solange give him that work.
Man, I don't know, dude. What's going on?
I wonder if he know we can't hear him.
Yeah, I think he has to reboot his what should we call it? Because this happened to him when we did the coding chat earlier. And I got noise in the background because I'm cooking right now. What up, though, Ty? What's going on, man?
Not much. I was just gonna bring up that Mike Tyson all in on marijuana too right now.
Man, have you been listening in to the cannabis chats?
Not this is first one I heard in a while. This one only one I tuned into in a while.
Okay, man, because Anti-Gravity and I we sparked these back in 2017. So on the Business Wealth Power channel, shoot, man, we got a deep catalog. I'll post a playlist, and we just been continuing discussion here on the Brain Trust. But yeah, man, it's like Anti-Gravity and I run a holdings company, and one of the industries that we're in is hemp and cannabis. So we've been really chopping game on it for a good minute. I'm talking like cryptos, blockchain, engineering cannabis. He drops through when we do these, because he's doing a lot of tech development in this industry as well.
Right.
So, we really dig in on the industrial side of things, and we've really been just trying to push brothers and sisters to get involved, man. That's why we do these.
Nah, that cannabis bus gonna be one that you don't want to miss.
Well, and the thing about it is, man, we're so early in the game on it, because as Mike was alluding to, from a federal standpoint, man, it's not even legal federally yet. See, so that tells you how much of a ground floor you're in, because there's no federal mandate. But we're going to get to that point at some point,
It's only who it's going to be favorable to.
Well, I'll tell you right now, man. The U.S. is going to have to make it favorable to everyone, because they're already behind the ball as it relates to the global cannabis markets. Canada is going to be the North American leader. They're the North American leader right now, right? They far surpass us. So they far surpass Mexico in terms of the global outlook. So the U.S. has a long way to go, man. And so if they feel as though they're going to catch up in any way, shape, or form, they're going to have more people involved. They're going to have a real robust industry here, and you're not going to be able to just leave that in the hands of a few, because of just how expansive the cannabis and hemp markets are. We're talking about everything from medicine to technology.
Well, why wouldn't they just use the framework of something like alcohol as far as the laws concerning that?
Wait, say that again?
Why can't they just use something like the framework for alcohol?
It's a little bit different, man.
On the national level.
Well, it's a little bit different.
I don't understand why.
It was different, because the thing about it is that you could use hemp and cannabis in the textile industries. We've been kicking around. Nagone, Anti-Gravity, myself, we've been talking about making graphene batteries out of hemp. Right. See, so there's that side of it. There's the recreational side of it. There's the medicinal side of it. Like, how do you apply alcohol statutes, for example, to something so expensive.
Well,
You'd be limiting the capability. You'd be limiting your industrial capabilities by doing something like that.
well, that's what I'm saying. What I mean by that is just you have all these industries, but it's only one sector that's going to actually be classified as a drug. That's what I'm
Well,
saying. Like
the
alcohol
problem
is
is,
classified as a drug.
I know, but the problem is this: if the source material, i.e., the plant, is viewed as a drug and it's regulated as a drug, how do you exploit all those other industries? Because what you're telling me is that, well, it's illegal to grow the plant to make batteries out of because it's a drug. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
You know, so our holding company has our interests are wide ranging. It's in every aspect that we can do.
Hey, how long have I been out for?
Man, you've been out for like what? How long time? Like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe. Yeah, bro. Like,
So long giving you that work.
Got his foot on your neck, man. I keep telling you about that.
Yeah, that makes me really mad, man.
Oh, it's all good, bro.
Yeah,
We just shopping game, man. We figured. I figure you get back on at some point.
Yeah. I'm not gonna read this whole entire thing over again, but 6 states, 2020.
Wait, you were reading it the whole time?
Yeah, I was reading it the whole time.
Oh shit! You didn't hear us?
No, I can't hear you if
That's right. If it drops out, right?
If it drops out, yeah.
Now, Complex brought up a good point, man. I never thought of it like that. I always thought that they could just do like what they did with alcohol when they, you know what I'm saying, legalize that per se as a drug. I never thought about that. They would have to regulate all these other industries and they couldn't classify the base form as a drug.
This is why the United States is kicking itself in the ass as it relates to the hemp and cannabis industries right now, because they're looking at it from a human consumption standpoint.
Right, not as a commodity.
They're not looking at it as a commodity, an industrial application. You know, hell, you know, an agricultural product. Man, I don't know, man. Americans are stupid.
Yeah, let me just touch on the few states here for real quick. All right, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Missouri, New Jersey, and South Dakota. They all are using similar social equity programs to actually get these through. Except for Arkansas. Arkansas is basically a red state for all intents and purposes, and Republican lawmakers are completely against it for any sort of legalization. So if it fails the first time, it will usually pass the second time around. So $10.6 billion or $10.9 billion industry on the books right now. If I was a poor Republican state or a poor red state, I would be highly interested in getting on board with this.
Mike, do you think they're against it, or they just trying to hold off from passing it until they get their ducks in order?
What do you mean ducks in order?
I mean, like just lining up stuff in the background that's going to benefit the cronies.
Oh, that's always been the case, right? Right. Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham,
John Boehner.
Yeah, Boehner, whatever his name is. A lot of those guys have already had investments in the background working for them.
They had investments with the passage of the hemp bill back in 2014. So the hemp bill made it legal to grow hemp, right? It didn't make it legal to sell it. because there wasn't any sort of nationalized mandate with regards to hemp. But what it did was it made it legal to grow it. See, so what you do is you start there, invest in that, and then what you're going to do is sell futures. Right? They sold futures for a couple of years off the shit, knowing that at some point here in the future, a hemp bill was going to pass, and that passed with the agriculture bill of 2018. I mean, that's what made like all the CBD stuff you see now, all the CBD stuff that's derived from CBD from hemp. That's what made it a viable product. But think about it, you had kind of like a 4-year head start there from 2014 to 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got a friend of mine here locally. He like president of a chapter of this group called Normal. You ever heard of Normal?
Yep.
How you spell it?
It's NORML.
Forgot what it is. Something marijuana reform or something.
Yeah, he
National Organization of Reformation of Marijuana Laws or something like that.
Yeah, and he's serious about it. He had a hydroponic shop at first, and he actually went to Colorado and started a dispensary out there. But the laws are so janky, man. It's a lot of funny business going on.
Well, like I said, man, in typical American fashion, we're gonna play the bureaucracy game. Meanwhile, Canada is gonna wipe their ass with you.
Yo, hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, what's up, dude?
What's up, bro?
Show man, show.
Cannabis.
Yep.
What's going on, Jay?
I'm good. In terms of when you mentioned Canada, there are two things that's coming out that's going to expedite federal legalization. Mexico is basically coming up next year as being legalized. So you're going to have two border countries situated in the United States that are going to be legalized. So with that, one thing people are not thinking of is two countries legalized. You're going to see heavy, basically cannabis coming into the United States illegally. So you have Mexico having access to legal cannabis. Now it's going to be coming into the United States illegally. Mm-hmm. But with that, that's going to be a problem because at that point, you're going to be looking at states basically losing profit margin from cannabis. And not only that, federally, the government is going to start putting in money to try to basically stop the flow of cannabis. And it doesn't make sense to basically try to put more money and more resources to stop what's already legal in different states. So at that point, the federal government will start looking at, okay, we have two borders flooding with cannabis illegally. Our states are losing money, and we're wasting resources on something that's already legal in different states. That's going to start pushing into trying to legalize federally. So those with Mexico coming up to basically legalize cannabis, I'm seeing it's going to basically push that legalization coming up.
But that's what I mean. It's like you had to wait before the three countries that exist on the same continent, or two of the three countries that exist on the same continent, legalized before your ass did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mexico already has. See, the thing is that's an easy transition for Mexico. They already have a strong market, right? There's a lot of weed comes into California through Mexico, and then from there, man, it goes out to wherever else. Like again, along with Arizona, Texas as well, and it makes its way up, goes up north, right? Shit, in Canada, I haven't really heard too much about stuff really coming in from Canada, maybe outside of like the Washington area, but then again, shit, Washington's got it. Shit, they've got a very robust weed market. Okay, I mean, there's really no point in shit coming in from Canada. You know what I'm saying? So, it's like you gotta really look at this like with a level of common sense.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What up, Zone?
Yo,
What up, Complex?
What's going on, man?
What up, Mike?
Show him, man. Show him. All right, let me try to hit this next article before my mic drops again. All right, this one is from NJ.com. Another state has legalized marijuana. Sales begin December 1st. Expand this out. Michigan adults 21 and older will be able to buy marijuana starting December 1st, the state marijuana regulatory agency announced on Wednesday. Michigan is one of the 11 states and District of Columbia which have legalized the use of marijuana for recreational purposes. The other states are Alaska, California, Colorado, Illinois, Maine, Massachusetts, Nevada, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington. Michigan's medical marijuana dispensaries will be permitted to sell up to 50% of cannabis products on the recreational market if they are at least 30 days old, according to a bulletin from the state regulatory agency. This approach will allow for a transition to the adult use market, as the estimate that there will be around a dozen or so licensees who would be eligible on December 1st. Marijuana regulatory agency spokesman David Harns told MLive Wednesday. Similar to the medical market, we expect it to be a slow build out as the production of plants and products increases. This will create an environment where businesses can supply the market as quickly as possible, Harn said. Governor Phil Murphy, a Democrat who won election in 2017 on the promise he would legalize marijuana, but reluctance in the democratically controlled Senate has delayed the passage of a legalization bill as recently as May. Senate President Stephen Sweeney of Gloucester recently told NJ Advanced Media he would try to sway his members during the so-called lame duck period between November and January before the next legislation session begins. Illinois is the next state to permit the legal sale and possession of marijuana beginning January 1st. So, my mic dropped again. Interesting.
No, I can hear you.
It may have for a split second, but then you came back.
Any comments?
What did you have something you were about to say about it?
No.
In terms of the legalization in Detroit, I'm in Michigan. I think the biggest aspect is the cannabis industry is going to there's going to be a cascading effect where it's going to affect not only the cannabis space, but it's going to affect the real estate, especially in Detroit. And I believe in Detroit, the one thing like Colorado, when cannabis came in, it affected the real estate market in Colorado. But I think it's going to affect Detroit more because Detroit has one thing Colorado doesn't have, and that thing is the neighbor, Canada. Detroit is close to Canada, so there's going to be a lot of profit margin coming out from Canada going into Detroit, especially and remember, Detroit currently has low margins in terms of real estate. So right now, with cannabis laws coming into place, I believe Detroit is going to be highly affected, and it's going to be highly affected in a positive way.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, because I saw, part of the reason why my shop shut down in May of last year is really due because the commercial real estate values had shot up. All the warehouses that were around my shop are being used for cannabis grows. So that naturally is just going to raise commercial spaces up, just generally speaking, especially given that my shop, based on how it's zoned, can also be used for cannabis production. So it made it a prime, real estate target, for your would-be commercial grower. Seeing it here in California, I can only imagine in Detroit you're going to have the same effect. However, because the real estate prices are depressed and they're so low, it's an opportune time to actually buy in.
Yeah, buy in some basically properties, but basically you have to wait for the laws to come out to see if you're in the actual location where cannabis is. But it's still going to be a ripple effect, a huge ripple effect in the real estate market, especially with Detroit
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Canada. So it's going to be a huge rippling effect. So cannabis is not just a stagnant one industry. It's going to go into different industries.
Gotcha. You have something you want to add?
Hello?
I don't know. There he is. Hey Ty, did you have something you wanted to add? Zone.
Yeah, man. I just think it's funny how they just come up with these dates, bro. Like, all this shit is planned, dog.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean they come up with these dates?
Like when they say, we're gonna start on this date.
What like no, in reference to what exactly?
During the legalization, when they said they was gonna start.
Well, there's always a set date, because it goes through the political process, and then the political process.
Right. So just because you have the passage of the bill doesn't mean it starts that day, right? See,
Right.
so if they're going to pass the bill, like whatever house passes the bill, or whatever legalization measures passed, it's up to the state to say, okay, well, look, if we're going to make this legal, for 2020, it doesn't necessarily have to be for January 1st. Typically, that's when laws go into effect, but there's usually some gap in time, from the passage of it. And there is some planning out, because you have to plan out when measures are to be voted on, and then from that, if you're going to have a yay vote versus a nay vote, then you'll say, okay, 60 days from the passage of the bill. So if they pass the bill in October, you got November, December, January 1st, boom, legalization happens. So it's not as if it's planned out unbeknownst to people. Like we knew when it was voted to go fully legal, we knew what day it was going to be. Everybody knew.
Yeah, caramelized sugar. Hey, what's going on, caramelized sugar? She says in the chat, meanwhile, not one person was in the lottery this week in Chicago. That picture was nothing but older white men and women. So I'm not sure if she's referring to the actual gambling lottery or the legalization of
lottery
cannabis.
for the licenses or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure what she's referring to. Let me get to this next article. All right, this one is from Bloomberg.com. The pot stock bubble has burst. Here's why. Oh, it's behind the paywall. Fuck. Wall Street's exuberant over legal weed has quickly curled into sober reality. In a matter of months, white hot cannabis companies have flamed out in spectacular fashion. Many have lost 2/3 or more of their value. Yeah, the thing is, it's hard for any cannabis company that's publicly traded to avoid volatility with all of this legal red tape involved. They're basically walking on eggshells everywhere they go.
Well, they hedged. Okay, see, there's hedges that work out and hedges that don't. So you have people who may have started buying in like 2015, 2016. Here we are, 2019. There's still no fucking like Fed statute that says, all right, this is legal. You got people that have been putting money in for a while, dude, and they're just like, you know what? This ain't going nowhere. The best bet is to, go to a state where it's legal there and just deal with it there, because as a country, you don't have you have nothing. You don't have anything right now. So that's why I was telling Ty when your mic had dropped, that the United States is really shooting itself in the foot, and they don't understand why they're shooting or to the degree or the extent in which they're blowing their fucking foot off of their leg. Because you have something like this. This creates bad investor confidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people are like, you know what? Why would I put my money here? I mean, because, you know, I can go and put my money over in tech. At least I know there's no statutes blocking it.
Right.
I agree. The volatility, even within the state laws, in terms of customer and basically stock confidence, there's too much volatility. Like recently, did you know 400 licenses got suspended in California because of regulatory rules?
Yep.
400. That's 5% of profit margin got eliminated because of regulatory rules.
Yeah, I think
So-
Pacific Rides was one of them.
Yeah. So 400.
Yep.
So 400 licenses just because they didn't follow the track and trace system. So the question is, with all these volatility in terms of regulatory regulations and all that, I normally won't tell anybody to go into the stock market or with cannabis itself. I'll tell you, go into the states go into each state and basically go to the legal state and then basically build a foundation there. Look at the problems and basically start with the problems and then use those problems and you can make a business out of those problems. Like the 400, just for instance, like the 400 licenses were basically done because of track and trace. Now that's a problem. I already have some solutions, but that's where you start building it, looking at the problems and going from there. Now the stock market, nah, but actually going where the problems are. And one of the biggest problems is regulations. And that people can tackle it with a lot of tech stuff, like machine learning, like a lot of stuff, blockchain, and a lot of stuff to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%, bro. Spot on. Uh-oh. Does somebody have a foot on somebody's neck again?
Yeah, I think we lost Mike again.
No, you didn't lose me. You didn't
Oh,
lose
wait,
me.
wait. There
You
you
didn't lose me. I unplugged and then plugged it back in just so I wouldn't be lost again. All right, let me hit this last one and then we'll open it up for strand reviews. All right, this one's from CNN.com. Drake is going into business with a Canadian cannabis firm. The growing North American cannabis industry and notably the booming hemp-derived CBD sector has become a red carpet-like affair with celebrities and athletes signing on to pitch one brand or another. On Thursday, Aubrey Drake Graham, best known as hip-hop artist Drake, partnered with Canadian cannabis giant Canopy Growth to launch the More Life Growth company cannabis producer in Graham's hometown in Toronto. Drake joins a surging wave of celebrities who have aligned themselves with the cannabis industry by selling products, joining corporate boards, or in this case, creating a joint venture business. With a list that already includes Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, Willie Nelson, Montel Williams, Rob Gronkowski, Martha Stewart, Tony Hawk. Martha Stewart? Really?
Yeah, bro.
Didn't she do time?
She did time, but you know, also Snoop introduced her to some of that sticky, bro.
Yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow and Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi?
Yeah, Whoopi got a dispensary.
Whoopi's got money and weed too. Yeah, dude.
Whoopi got a dispensary.
Fucking pothead, bro.
Well, Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoopi's in cannabis.
Yeah. I don't think they've reached full saturation yet, said Ryan McConnell, senior vice president at Kantar, a business insight and brand consulting firm. Celebrity endorsements and partnerships are a way to help lend credibility and trust to a business, he said, and for emerging somewhat illicit industry that can be huge. Cannabis is a field that is not, in some people's eyes, legitimate yet, he said. It still has that veneer of being illegal. But not all celebrity tie-ups are created equal. People are attracted to brands that are real and authentic, said Diana Eberlin, an entertainment and marketing specialist. It feels inauthentic. They will lose that audience very quickly, said Eberlin, who now heads up marketing efforts at Source, a company that helps make cannabis oil water soluble. Source worked with Mad Tasty, a brand of hemp sparkling waters launched by One Republic leader, singer Ryan Tedder. Canopy Growth's other celebrity partnerships have struck that chord well, she said. It made perfect sense that Snoop Dogg, actor Seth Rogen, and even Snoop's pal Martha Stewart were venturing into the cannabis industry.
Man, did they get Mike again?
Yep,
I don't think so.
Oh, wait, there he is. There he is. All right.
No, I just stopped reading.
Okay.
We worried about
Drake,
the bike.
Drake, while hugely popular, doesn't garner that immediate association with cannabis, she said. But Drake is such a big name, she said. So it really depends on how he drives the brand moving forward. Drake's arrangement with Canopy Growth does stand apart from most of the celebrity cannabis deals, which are largely endorsements, minority investments, or advisory roles. According to Cassell's, a law firm that represents Canopy, Drake is the majority owner of a company that has a license from Health Canada, which oversees the nation's regulated cannabis market.
Oh, shit. Really? He's doing it like that, huh? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Under the agreement, Drake will own 60% or more of 60% or more life growth company, while Canopy Growth will retain the other 40% and have the ability to exclusively exploit certain intellectual property in Canada and internationally. For Canopy Growth, which has become a bit of a poster child for the publicly traded cannabis companies in operational and financial flux, the deal underwhelmed at least one analyst who follows the company. We take a relatively dim view of the venture's Canadian prospects in justifying the implied value ceded by Canopy. Andrew Carter, an analyst with brokerage and investment firm, banking firm Stifel, said in a research note on Thursday, Canadian cannabis brand developments is difficult with restrictions specifically prohibiting utilizing celebrity names, and we believe Canopy is seeding a cash flow positive asset. When viewing the deal long term, however, it could play out well for Canopy. But we believe Canopy is creating another option to enhance its position in the for the U.S. Carter wrote, Canopy's continued investment toward the larger global opportunity is differentiating factor versus peers are pursuing actions to ensure viability. So Drake is in a power position, unlike a lot of these other celebrities. OVO's in the building.
He's in a power position with arguably the largest cannabis company in on the North American continent.
Mm-hmm.
And he's majority owner of their venture.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in.
But yeah. I have my own. What I think with this is most celebrities right now, the brands, there isn't any grassroots brand basically building up from the ground up. we have these celebrities just coming in and injecting themselves. By the end of the day, you go with a brand you trust. So right now we need brands that basically start from the grassroots, from the bottom, and basically start talking about cannabis and building that brand up to the point where you have that connection with your customers. So putting Drake in there is fine, but in the long haul, I don't see that as a huge profit margin at the end.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree with you. A couple ways to look at it. So when you have a company like Canopy who inks some sort of business arrangement with somebody like Drake, and you're looking at a global reach for the Canopy brand, okay, that does garner some global recognition. Now, more to your point, engineering. So I'm looking at like California, for example. If he came out with his own like brand of weed here, it would bomb. Because just to speak to your point, it's all about the local market here. I've said this on a previous cannabis hangout. Like, you got homies that live like on the street, you know, on your block or 2 blocks over, 3 blocks over, who grow shit far better than any of these companies can. You know, and you know, especially in more sophisticated markets or more developed markets like California, like, you know, people who smoke herb know what time it is. So they're not going to be swayed. They'll probably throw, you know, some change at it just to try it, to say that they tried it. But they're not going to be no loyal customer of that shit. You know, and that's just the reality of it. So, you know, I think what they're more or less pivoting on is a global reach, because, you know, in the article it stated domestically and internationally. You know, so there's going to be other places where, you know, Drake's affiliation is going to net them some sales. So you got to look at the global reach and the returns on that versus, you know, trying to take over, like, you know, the block homie who got that high power.
I don't think Drake is a good long-term play.
Well, he has a demographic, Ty, a very strong Zennial demographic that will net him some sales when they become old enough to buy.
What I'll say is this: like, if you want to build a brand currently, especially in the cannabis space, I'll tell you, utilizing social media is going to be a big part. Because currently, if you go to YouTube or you go to any and you type cannabis business channel, you probably won't see any. And right now, most of my videos are even popping up. But the question is, right now, if you're in the cannabis space, I'll tell you, start going to YouTube and all that and start making videos. Make sure you populate the whole YouTube algorithm. So at that point, when it becomes, now people will start looking at cannabis as a viable product, not looking at it as a illicit product anymore, your brand will be the one out there. Because currently there isn't any business channels for cannabis. There isn't any tech channels for cannabis. There isn't anything. So what I'll say is, in order to build that grassroots, start with social media. Start with social media presence and go from there.
Let's talk about the strain review. Ty City, do you have anything you want to add? Like a Dotson 240 Fair Lady strain?
Yeah, a JDM strain.
Yeah.
Nah, I look at Currency and Wiz Khalifa's social media, bro, and bro, it's just like that's the play that I would have went with, something like that, because them dudes, they actually no strands. These dudes have their own strands. You know what I'm saying? They into it.
Wait a
That's
minute,
what
wait a minute, wait a minute. You're talking to somebody who's literally got some shit drying in this room right now. Tell me I don't know strands?
No, I'm not saying.
Zone knows.
I'm saying from a
I
marketing
know
standpoint.
strands.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Strands
no,
are strags.
I'm not.
I'm
No,
talking about from a
Ty,
marketing standpoint.
no, I get what you're saying from a
It
marketing
was just
standpoint.
100 better. It was just like 100 better options.
What they're doing, but see, what they're doing is okay. All right, I would say Wiz Khalifa. He's the first rapper to successfully put a strain out there, and I think he's pretty much the only one. I think Snoop just more or less has investments in companies, but Khalifa OG and Zone can speak to it. Was a pretty fucking popular strain. Like you can still buy it at the shops everywhere. They got it. They got it like that. People smoke it like that. So
Well, even Burner. You know Burner? He put the what was that? The cookies? Burner put the cookies out, and that was
wait. No. Girl Scout cookies?
Nah. It was
I was
a
just saying
strain
because that's
called
the
Cookies.
only cookies. That's the only cookie strain I know of like real prominence. And I was gonna say I don't think a rapper put that one out.
Nah, Burner put a strand out called Cookies, and it blew up. And he even branded it to clothes and stuff like that.
No, okay. I never heard of
I
it.
I don't see Drake as a smoker, bro.
Well, he doesn't have to be. He has 60% of the company.
Yeah, you don't
But
really.
What's the
yeah.
intellectual though? For them to give up 60%, and then they said 40, then they said they can push intellectual properties.
Yes, because look, here's the deal, right? Because Canopy is situated across different. So they're vertically integrated, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you see, so they could literally the deal could largely just be a supply deal and a marketing deal, right? And we're cutting out all of the other fat, and so that fat that we're cutting out is Drake's 60%. And see, because they have it on the ground floor at abundance for pennies, okay, they're just like, look, man, clear the inventory, just move this stuff, right? Because it looks good on their financial sheets to have product moving out, even if it's 10% over. Okay, we're getting something from it, and at the end of the day, we need to attract more investment. So we need to show that we're doing some sort of business. So if we can get somebody, a high profile person like Drake, okay, can we make 60-40 work? Yeah, we can make that work. Make it happen.
Okay.
In terms of strains, the one thing I've never heard from, because I keep looking around doing research, I've been looking at trying to see if there's a periodic table of strains with cannabis. Nah, if you can give me that, especially with the infusion market, if you can have a periodic table with the infused market and know exactly what infused products works best with what strain, that data is basically more valuable. You can see if you can give me an infused product where I know what strain is good with an alcohol-based compound, or what strain is good with an infused baked goods, or what good strain. If you can give me that information, then I have that kind of information in my head.
like a type of deal.
Like a periodic table, I say, hey, you use this strain and you infuse it with a Coca-Cola product. And that product it's gonna make that Coca-Cola product more, basically taste more better.
Well, I get where engineering is going, because certain strains, based on their compound profile, and man, we've gone into this in such detail on the Business Well Power channel, where we used to I think I actually did a couple of them here on this channel too, where I actually bring up like your terpene charts, and all that shit, and then kind of explain how you can kind of profile a plant based on certain characteristics like the scent, the taste, and the effect, right? And then it'll kind of give you a visual representation. And these things and I agree, engineering, you can actually chart this stuff. And really, Mike and I have spoke at length about a blockchain application to these types of things. How blockchain now fits into the equation. By charting and recording this type of data. Especially doing like cataloging strains, for example. So no, I agree. And it would be good to know, because then what you could have is you could have a market, or an agricultural market, if you will, where people say, okay, well, I'm only going to grow these types of strains, or I'm only going to grow these type of strains, and then they sell directly to those markets and those industries. But see, that's what happens when you have a federal mandate that says, okay, this is a legal thing. We can transact across state borders, and it's okay. I can just wire the money through a bank, and we can take care of business. See, you need to have that in order to make some shit like this happen.
Somebody drowning?
What the fuck is that?
I think there's something wrong with engineering cannabis microphone setup.
Oh shit. Okay. Now the white man's got his foot on his neck. Okay.
Yo, random question, man. OG Kush.
That's like a classic.
Yeah.
Who originated the strain? Who owns it? And like, is that just like a general, like a general type strand, or?
It's what was Zone? Was that Sai Baba who did that, or Shanti Baba? I'm sorry.
I don't remember exactly. Based on what my friend told me from the Emerald Triangle area, it was originally started there. Then I guess someone took it.
Okay.
Bro, that's all Devin the dude smoke, bro. He won't touch no exotic shit. he just smoked OG Kush. That's all he liked.
Bro, when I was back in the music days, dude, the only shit I only smoked purple shit. So grape ape, purple Kush, God's gift. I would do purple dragon sometimes, but sometimes it kind of make me feel weird. But when I was making music, that's all I smoked was purple shit.
You should try some Granddaddy Purple.
GDP. Oh, my bad. I left GDP out. Yeah, definitely.
I was like,
I love how GDP smells, dude. Oh my god.
It's like so perfect. It's just smooth, and it smokes smooth too. It's like, wow.
Yeah. I love purples, man. The only thing is that you can't really be active and you smoke a purple, dude. It's gonna sedate you.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's good for those days where you just want to rest and forget the night.
Right. Or like when it's raining or something. Oh, dude, perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, Complex. So the purple color, right?
Mm-hmm.
I heard that it was purple because they stressed the plant some kind of way, or
no, some plants are there. If I could turn my camera on, I can't, for whatever reason. I can't use my video thing to, I would show you some buds that I just picked off my plant. Like, I didn't do anything to them. They've just been growing.
okay.
Some plants, they have genetic variances. They grow different. Just like, dude, you got to look at weed like oranges, apples. There's variances, and okay, orange is an orange, but then there's blood oranges, and then you got navel oranges,
right?
And then you got everything in between. Then you have like tangerines, and you have lemons and limes, right? So what cannabis, it would be like, okay, you have indicas, sativas, then you got hybrids of that. You got ruderalis, you got hemp. You know what I mean? You got different variances of the shit.
Thousands of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the specialty market gonna live on with cannabis. I think mass producing it would just be horrific.
It's hard to get a really good, and Zone, you give me your opinion, your take on this. It's hard to get a really good refined product and grow it just like in mass.
Oh, the consistency.
What do you think, Zone?
Well, yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you can have one plant just 1 feet away grow pretty differently and taste pretty differently compared to the other one right next to it.
Right.
It's even like the nutrients level, the soil, anything can happen. It could be the sun, maybe there's a lack of oxygen or carbon dioxide or monoxide, whatever,
Yeah.
can
Carbon
affect
dioxide.
it. Yeah. And also, if the water isn't pure, like let's say you're using well water or something like that, it can really affect the plant taste.
You mix one batch of nutrients slightly different from the last batch. You know,
Yeah.
there's not consistency. I don't know, man. It's just I see. The way I look at it, man, is that plants they're living beings. You know, so if you simply just don't give it its optimal growing condition, you're not going to get the best from it. And so when you grow like mass, like commercial grow, you're growing for volume. You know, you're growing for volume, and you just can't produce the right type of natural growing environment that'll give you the best result. What do you think, Zone?
To be honest, you can if you. That's why I'm a proponent for tech. If you have all the right data points, you actually can make
Well, you
good
can,
commercial grow.
You
but
can.
go ahead, Zone.
If
I'm
you
sorry.
No, go ahead, engineer.
if you provide like any cultivation or anything, if you provide all the right data points from a master grower or anything, and all the variables always basically is consistency. For any grow, it's basically based on consistency. And consistency is basically to get good consistency, you have to have good data points. With good
Well, that's
data
true.
points, you can have good consistency. With good consistency, you can predict your cultivated product almost every time. Because at this point, you're basically using the data from a master grower and you are just using it over and over. But where it comes into play is now you're dealing with different strains. And those different strains have different variability
They
based
have
on
different requirements, right?
requirements. So now that's what I'm saying. Data can give you that consistency. And that's why I'm saying you need a good periodic table based on strain and based on variability. If you have a strain and I say, okay, these are the data points you need to basically use to grow a consistent strain. This is the data points you need in terms of pH, temperature, in terms of all those variables. And you have those data points, I believe you can grow a good product.
I mean, I guess it's just I've had the commercial stuff before, right? Like I tried, don't get this. I tried ordering from Ease one time, right? And I
Was it
don't
all
know,
dried?
dude. You already know where I'm going with this shit. Jesus Christ, dude! It was I was like, I cannot fucking believe I paid $52 for this. I mean, it was like
Shit.
I was like literally like I was like, dude, this is not an eighth. This is not a fucking eighth. And it was like some of the most dried, just. I mean, dude, it would be like Reggie. Like if you went into a shop.
It's like true Mexican weed.
Yeah.
It's eighth a day.
Oh my God. Like you literally gotta
Finesse.
smoke an eighth a day to get a proper fucking fade, dude. I was like, dude, this is terrible. Dude, I used to buy, they used to have this strain. And dude, I used to get it for like what? I think it was maybe like, I forgot how much it was a gram, dude. And I used to buy like I used to buy a fat fucking sack of this shit. And it was some of the best smoke. It really was, dude. It was just like, some local grower. And, it was one of these strains that he had. And I don't know, for me, I like herb that burns like real, like peppery, like has a real pine or woody pepper type of herb. Most people, they don't like weed that doesn't necessarily smell like weed when they smoke it. You know what I mean? But this shit,
You like that spice, like a little spice?
I mean, like a lot of okay, so the best strain that I can think of to this day is probably literally the best strain I ever smoked. Zone, you ever heard of Salmon Creek?
I heard about it, but I never smoked it in the past.
Okay. It's a strain from Washington. Bro, I swear to God, dude, like I smoked this shit back in like 2006. It was like 2006 I tried this shit. And I ended up getting 2 seeds out of it, and then 2 years later I grew it out and smoked it again. But bro, I remember the first time I smoked this shit, dude. I was floating for like 8 fucking hours. I swear to God, dude. I was like, dude, this is the best high I've ever had. And to this day, dude, like the purple shit kind of comes close, but nothing comes close to the shit I smoked that day.
Maybe you should try something like White Widow or something like that.
I tried White Widow. I don't know. It's you know, it was cool. I never understood like the hype around it like that. I was like, all right, it's cool, you know.
Well, it's mostly because it has high THC. That's why so a lot of people smoke it because it gets them high.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but see, I smoke a lot, so right, so I'm just like, all right, all right.
Hey,
You know,
what's on the milder side? Like me, I can't, bro. Hey, I'm out of there, bro.
you on the mild side? Oh, you lighting the ass with yours, huh? You smoke
Bro,
that
I'm
little
going
kids
to the
weed?
moon, bro, and I'm coughing for 20 minutes straight, and then I'm taking a nap.
Maybe we should give him some Blue Dream or something
Some
like
Blue
that.
Dream? Yeah, Blue Dream, man. Blue
Yeah,
Dream
it's
is
like
like
14% THC or something like that.
Dude, the back of my throat be on fire, dog.
yeah, that's because you smoking some dry shit and ain't
I
care
need to
about it.
ask, I need to ask this
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
In terms of potency, how do you guys measure your potency itself? Is there a standardized way to do it now? Because currently I've been doing research. I haven't found a standardized way to see in terms of potency, in terms of even prescribing in terms of potency.
Let me tell you something. The problem with that, okay, and this is the reason why what you're gonna have to do is in my view anyway, unless you know people really get into locking into one specific compound and concentrating the fuck out of it based on their research on what ailment, you know, or condition it is best suited for. Now, one company that I have a minority partnership in out of Chicago, that's what they do, and they do it with non-invasive lab testing. So basically, they take oral swabs, and then from that, they can get a profile of your metabolism, right? And what they do is utilizing compound pharmacy. You know, they're trying to build, you know, this sort of what you're talking about, engineering, like a data table to determine how to compound, you know, the right type of extracted cannabis medicine, you know, based on metabolism. And I think that to me, I think that's going to be the only way. It has to be a metabolism based data table. And I can't believe we're sitting there putting this shit out here like this, because somebody easily take this shit.
Because right now, in terms of, but the question is, right now I'm looking at using some machine learning algorithm to basically use that as a way, trying to get some data points, use not only metabolism, but you have to also look at age, you have to look at sex, you have to look
metabolism is going to,
and the ailment, you even talked of ailment. Remember, you talked of ailment too.
Of course.
So how do you basically judge based on that potency, and then how do you judge to move up to either a stronger one or lower potency?
Okay,
so these are variables I'm looking into.
Right, and I was going to say, so here's what has to happen. So in order to gain that data, you have to perform clinical lab trials. Okay, yeah. So this is where applying for grant funding. See, look, the reason why, like states like Mississippi, for example, like the only entity that I think it's the state of Mississippi, the only entity that is licensed to grow shit is a goddamn college. Why? Because the college has business interests. And if they can use it for intellectual property purposes, for growing shit, developing shit under the auspices of research and development, right? And then give, you know, certain corporations that donate to the foundation of the school, the alumni and all that, you know how this shit goes, okay? So you have that being done, you know, but there's also the part of, you know, well, let me go back to that. It's all in the clinical trials. Clinical trials is what's going to provide you the data to create a framework. So you have to have either some sort of university or some sort of private, you know, medical lab testing facility, or you know what I'm saying? And you know, you would then be trying to also apply for grant money for these sorry these research projects, and that way that's what would give you the end to gain that data to then create the commercial product. That's all these companies are doing, man.
And do you know, nobody's even talking about this. The amount of, when this becomes federally legal, the amount of grant money that's going to come into
It's going to be amazing.
play in terms of even with the social aspect, in terms of how is this going to affect neighboring African American communities? How is injecting 3, 4, 5 dispensaries going to affect the wealth, the health, even the incarceration rate? And and I'm always telling individuals that once that comes out, there's going to be a lot of people applying for those grants.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of money. And I always tell people, like, take 3, 4 of your friends who are engineers or computer scientists, talk to them, tell them to go sign up for some grants and go get some grant money just to know how to basically go in and research that aspect of it. And that aspect is going to basically bring a lot of money, not only from the federal side, also from the private side too. If Coca-Cola is going to infuse cannabis in their product, they want to know how it's going to affect certain minority places, so there's going to be a huge aspect in terms of, I call it social engineering. It's
Right.
going to be a huge play in that, just to know what's going to be in play and what the effects going to be in terms of, again, health, wealth, and any other aspect.
Well, and you know, man, and that the unfortunate thing with all that is that, you know, as a country, we're not really at the point where we can really explore that, because again, the state is, you know, relatively split. I mean, we're over the 50-50 mark, but still each state, you know, going from state to state, you know, there's no intra-state commerce laws in place, for example, right? Like, we're so behind the goddamn 8 ball that you can look at it as a gift and a curse, because one, that would mean that minority communities still have time to get their fucking acts together, you know, and maybe create community institutions. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be the one guy applying for the license, but you know, it could be a community owned type of arrangement, you know, pushing for different statutes, right? See, because like, so for example, like you and Zone can corroborate this, like you can go, you have many cities within Los Angeles, and from city to city, I mean, they have their own ordinances. Okay, so you have certain areas where if the majority of the people, or if this is a black area, okay, so that area that can establish its own laws and statutes can essentially lobby for laws and regulations, you know, and pass them that make it beneficial for them to engage in these activities. You know, you don't always just have to kind of look at somebody else to just quote unquote do the right thing. It's like, no, force the fucking issue. You know, but that would require that we have some sort of active involvement and a impetus to move on it, because we have a stake in something. And you know, Mike covered I think 2 cannabis hangouts ago, you know, we're still arguing with very rudimentary concepts as it relates to this. You know, how does God feel about this? You know, how does Jesus feel about all this? For example, somebody literally said that. What I want to know is, what I
how does he
want to know
feel
is,
about
how
it,
does Jesus
Complex?
feel about this? What?
Well, how does he feel about it, Complex?
How you said? How does he feel about it? Well, you want to know my take?
He's a
No,
total pothead.
he's a pothead. The holy fucking anointing oil. No, real shit. The
Nah,
holy
the burning
anointing
bush.
oil. The holy anointing oil. Okay, that used to put on, it's the middle of the forehead, and you read the part in the Bible where it talks about it, right? Okay, the holy anointing oil is cannabism. Go look up what cannabism is. It's infused oil. It's olive oil with weed in it, and with a little bit of frankincense and myrrh. No bullshit. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he'd be okay with it.
I definitely wasn't looking for a real answer, bro.
Did you know recently the USDA brought like 161 for the hemp bill, the new law, 161 pages of the hemp bill, and in the hemp there isn't any. In I was reading the laws in terms of commerce around across country. There isn't any laws in there. It just states
Wait, you said there isn't any laws relating as it relates to what?
hemp related to the USDA brought out a law, 161 pages of new laws of CBD and hemp. And the law within the law, there isn't any, because you mentioned interstate commerce, but there isn't any law that basically talks of crossing border lines, maybe to do business in other countries. It just states.
Okay,
it just states,
so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It just states if we want, we're not dealing with that right now, but we will deal with it when we can. So there isn't any law with hemp, especially.
There isn't. Now, if you ship to Canada, though, and I can tell you this firsthand, if you ship to Canada, it's coming back. So, you really have to know, like, which countries are going to be friendly to it.
Because right now, the laws right now coming out, in order to grow hemp, you have to have a license. With the USDA.
What, commercially?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, commercial, yeah. Well, the reason why with the USDA, wait, the US, that's the US, what's that?
United States Department of Agriculture. Yeah.
Agriculture. Yeah, no, because it's that's who has jurisdiction over hemp, is the Department of Agriculture. It's not like the FDA or the what's the medical one?
FDA.
The is Food and Drug Administration, right? It's not under their jurisdictions. It's under the Department of Agriculture. So yeah.
The laws, if you look at the laws, especially with CBD, because I started looking at the laws, it's going to cost a lot of money just to enact those laws, and those laws are going to be passed down as taxes to the individual. So CBD prices is going to basically skyrocket real soon because
dude, there's so much of an abundance of it on the market. I can't see that happening.
Because if you look at the laws, what the resources dedicated to just testing alone, the amount of money just for testing.
But you got to understand too, because look, okay, so all of our strains are tested. I think just a couple hangouts ago, I pulled up the lab results of one of our. So we got a hemp strain that's coming in about 18%. It's high as fucking CBD, but it's under the legal THC limit, and we got the lab results to prove it. It breaks down literally every goddamn compound in the bud. So I mean, from that standpoint, okay, it's not as if the data isn't being collected. It has to be collected. Now, if we're talking about putting it in some sort of uniform database, okay, well, that's another subject. But I know I know at least where we operate, like everybody has like their shit. They should anyway have their shit tested and have lab results for it.
Because I'm going through the laws, and the laws are just ridiculous.
Well,
In
okay,
terms of-
you're talking about in that bill you're talking about?
the 161, the USDA law that's coming
Mhm.
out,
Mm-hmm.
it's 161 pages, and it encompasses how the testing is done, how it has to be done 15 days before your cultivation. There's a lot of stuff in there.
But
I don't think
that's
it's-
okay. Like, but see, stuff like that. I don't really see that type of stuff as like something that's like, you know, difficult or something like, you know, just to clip some, you know, go out and clip a few samples from various plants, and
You're
then
not going to
just
clip it. They're going to have a designated
person to come and do it.
yeah. It's
Oh,
not.
okay.
It's going to be a designated individual coming to basically.
They'll come and get the samples.
Yeah, you basically inform them 15 days before cultivation, and
That they're
they
coming
send
there.
somebody. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So it's going to be, the law is, wow. I saw the laws and I'm like, wow, this is something else.
Well, you know, it is what it is, man. Because look, there's a lot of shit, and this is the reason why I tell you that we hold lab results for all of our shit, because there's a lot of people out here that brand their shit as hemp, but guess what they're shipping?
Weed.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, you know, it's good to, you know, have your shit barcoded and, you know, and all that type of stuff. You know, we're trying to put it on some, you know, blockchain shit at some point. Right now, everything is QR coded, you know. So, yeah. Cover your ass, CYA.
I think the testing that the USDA is just promoting is mostly has to do with bugs and stuff like that.
Pesticides and yeah.
Yeah, because
Can you imagine finding a roach inside of a?
Hey-o!
In the
some
testing,
rat pooping.
in some of the testing, they focus not only for contaminants, they also focused on the actual THC concentration with dry weight. They have a lot of procedures on that. It has to be dry weight, the total concentration THC, not just Delta 9. The total concentration THC has to be less than 0.3. Because previously everybody was focusing on just Delta 9 THC. But
Right.
now they stated that the total THC concentration has to be less than 0.3%.
Mm.
So it's not just Delta 9. They're looking at the total.
They're gonna look at right. Because I mean, dude, like I've smoked some hemp flower, dude. I swear to God, I was like, dude, this shit is like weed. You know what I mean? They said it was under 3.3 THC, but I was like, God damn, that shit snaps like some real good Reggie.
So the testing, everything is going to be more stringent based on what I've read,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not joking.
Well, like I said, it has a lot to do with the fact that you got people selling weed masked as hemp. You see, so if they set very specific parameters, and like let's just say your package gets intercepted, right? And okay, if you're shipping something other than what you're advertising, basically it's your ass. And if it's across state lines, it's even more your ass. You know, so putting these type of stringent guidelines in place and these regulations in place where they say, okay, not even just the THC Delta 9, it's all the THC compounds.
So my question is, why isn't the focus first on the seed, not the plant? If you know the seed, if you have the ability to note that seed is just CBD concentrated, not THC, shouldn't that be a more viable way to know rather than going from the plant?
No, because it's just like what Zone was saying earlier. Like you're still going to get variances, dude, from plant to plant to plant. So what they have to do, like, so now the way is like California does it, for example, right? So when they test the shit, okay, it's one strain, but they're gonna take like samples from different plants, and then they average the numbers out. From that whole harvest, they go and clip from different plants. Because what if you took all of your samples from like this one plant, and the one plant that you took from just happened to be very potent?
You'd be like,
Okay.
damn.
Wait, say what?
You'd be like, damn it.
I know, you're like, fuck, are you telling me this whole goddamn harvest is toast because of that one plant?
Yeah, because the thing is, you don't really know. I mean, like the soil level can really change the plant, the way how it produces, like the THC crystals and the CBD and stuff like that. So you don't really know.
Right.
It's like a ticking time bomb that you're waiting for like 6 to 9 months just for the end result.
To end result, exactly. Exactly.
But I thought if you knew genetically, if you knew the seed, the type of seed you have.
No. We're saying this is what we're saying, dude. It's not about the seed. It's about the conditions. Like I
Okay,
said, you have soil. Let's say, like I said, dude, you mix up one batch of nutrients and you water one group of plants, and then you mix up another batch, and let's just say the nutrient, the what is it, the ppm levels are just slightly different than the previous batch, and you give it to these other plants over here. I mean, you'll start chemically, you're gonna start to see variances, or you'll get internally there'll be even variances. So the plants can look identical, but this batch just seems to smoke better than this one. Why?
It's just chemical imbalance.
Yeah. One area gets slightly more light than the other, or the light intensity for some strange reason is just brighter over in this area than it is over here, or it's warmer in this area than it is over there.
Or
All
one
these
might
What's
just
that?
get more wind or something like that to make a better strain or something like that.
Right.
Anything can happen.
Anything.
So how much would the quality of manure, right, the fertilizer, would that affect the growth of cannabis plant?
Oh, Zone, you wanna tackle?
I don't use manure. Everything I do is hydroponic, so I wouldn't really know. I know some people do use
compost teas.
like worm casting or pretty much
Worm
their
paste.
waste.
Yeah.
But it's only good at the beginning, like the first maybe 3 months, but afterwards you'll have to introduce outside nutrients for the plant because the nutrients in the soil from the manure will eventually be gone by like the first 2 months.
This is just my own little thing that I've done over the last maybe 7 or 8 years, 10 years. I only use sea-based nutrients. So when I first started growing, I used fish emulsion a lot when I was growing like outdoor. And then from there, I started using this stuff called Maxi. You can look it up. It's MAXSEA. So Max and C. And so I started using that stuff, and I liked it because the thing about ocean water is that it has far more minerals in it than terrestrial land does. Like I think terrestrial land has an upwards of maybe like 23 native minerals in it, versus seawater where it has like over like 111, 112. Right. So there's all these like micro and tertiary nutrients and shit like that that's in seawater. So I started using Maxi, and then I use it. I don't know if you can hear that. That's this. I use this stuff called, I don't know if you've heard of this zone. It's called Ocean Solution 203.
Nope.
It's an on. Yeah. It's if I could turn my camera, I'd show you it. But let me see. Let me see if it has it listed on the back here. Let's see here. No, it doesn't have all of the. I think it's on the website. It's on like they have like a PDF where they do a chemical analysis of it, and it just shows you everything that's in it. And man, let me tell you, like that shit just it brings out different colors in my plants, dude. Like it's amazing. So I use Maxi and Ocean Solution 203, all sea-based shit.
Somebody dropped off.
Now, what are you using for a lighter, Ulysses? Because whatever that was, man, that shit sound like a flamethrower.
Oh yeah. That was me lighting up. I grow outdoor. I grow in the backyard.
No, I meant the lighter that you just lit up.
Oh shit, that's just I don't know, small, like a Bic or something.
Nah, that's like something made of metal or something. I could tell by the way it rolled.
I mean, it's a nice one, but yeah, it's nothing expensive or anything.
Yeah.
I want to get a good like a whatchamacallit. What are they?
That lighter sound like you had a Kenny on it.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
What's up, dude?
Oh, we got Dr. Phoenix on here too, man. What's going on?
Oh,
Phoenix?
that's what's up, man.
Dr. Phoenix, where he at, man? Where the Surgeon General at?
The Surgeon General.
I think he might be driving. Yeah, I think he might be driving.
All right. Engineer said he had to.
And I was waiting for Complex to finish.
Okay, engineer said he had to go. All right, peace, bro.
Yeah, later.
Peace.
Ty City, what's going on, man?
Man, you know me, man. I'm the lightweight in the bunch.
Man, I don't know about all that, man. You talking outside of your neck bone right now.
Now, just enjoying the conversation. What'd you guys think of that Chicago article with the lottery?
Man, look, let me tell you something, man. Good friend of mine, helped him out trying to get the medical license back in 2013 and 2014. And, you know, we had a whole clinical trials aspect to the business model, right? Like the way it went straight to the whole medical, it was to tie it into like traditional medicine, right? There was a whole entire business model. We had University of Northwestern, you know, involved with it. Bro, they passed up on him and gave a goddamn license to a mob boss that owned like a bunch of strip clubs.
Man, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, like
that's pure political connection.
It's yeah. It was, and the thing about it was this.
Chicago, keep that in mind.
This is Chicago. That's why I'm kind of letting you know about my experiences there with the cannabis industry there. And you know what was crazy? Like to apply, it was $20,000 to apply for a license.
Oh yeah. It's the cost for the application is insane.
It was stupid, dude. It was stupid.
And see, and that's going against like all like the black people who've been like more hit hard by these arrests and stuff. They was supposed to be set up for you to kind of get into the game, but they've made the entrance fee so high. Keeps a lot of brothers out. I know we have one brother on YouTube. I believe I think it's Kid Organic. I think he has I think he's doing some medical growing now. I believe out in California though.
Well, I think on the last thing I mentioned this dude Nat Geo. I posted his channel. I'll try to dig it up and post it again. Or just look at I think it's Black Diamond International or something like that. If you look up on YouTube. So this dude has been like a legit licensed grower in California, and he's been doing videos about it since like about 2007. Like he's like the OG. Him and the New Jersey Weed Man, right? He's been an advocate, you know, and putting in work, especially like in the early days of social media and shit. And this brother that I just mentioned, he's the other one. Like that dude's probably his. If you go to his YouTube channel, dude, he's probably got like 2,000 videos. That's how long he's been doing this.
Yeah, I do want to just bring up something as a caution to black folks. When you're thinking about getting into research for for cannabis, and in particular various compounds within cannabis. Just keep in mind that that's typically the realm of either going to be physicians, medical doctors, um, obviously scientists, PhDs, and also pharmacists, PharmDs specifically. And so typically when you're applying for grants for research, you have to have what is known as a PI, a principal investigator. So it doesn't matter what kind of study it is, whether it's a observational, longitudinal, or in the physician world they like to do random blind studies, random double blind studies, and stuff like that. But typically the mandate when you apply for these programs, whether it's through if you're going the government route, the biggest funder without a doubt is going to be the National Institutes of Health. If you're going to obviously the private route, it's going to be the big pharma and all that stuff. Some of these the biotech companies and all of that. But typically, you need to have a doctorate of some kind to even apply for a grant. So just as a warning to Black folks, that this is one way that they can put up a barrier to keep Black folks out of this industry, especially when it comes to researching. Because I would argue that that Black people as a collective are going to be disproportionately affected by obviously the cannabis laws, but even just the medicinal benefits of cannabis outside of just sort of the recreational. Uh-oh.
Is it me or is
What happened?
a lot of people having some mic issues?
Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you.
There
I don't know.
you
It's telling me I'm having mic problems or something. I don't know.
Are you on your Bluetooth in your car?
got his foot on Dr.
No.
Phoenix's neck now.
Solange tearing y'all up today.
I'm on my computer. I'm on my laptop. Yeah, I don't know why is it doing this.
Well, you're good. I don't want to say it had anything to do with what you were saying.
Yeah, like I said, just a cautionary, just a warning for Black folks. This is one of the number of ways that they can lock you out of the industry, because typically these studies will be controlled by those obviously who gotten to the highest levels of education, obviously. And so, again, because we know Black folks as a collective aren't getting into these such programs or whatever, these programs, these studies are mostly going to be ran obviously by white folks for the benefit of white folks. And that's principally the reason why you get a PhD, is because you get the ability to run your own studies. You get the training, you get the ability to write grants and all that. Not to say that you can't write grants when you don't have a PhD, but typically when it comes to the medical industry and the study of various applications of plants and stuff like that, that tends to be pretty strictly controlled and regulated. So if people can hear me, I am sorry, but I don't know.
No,
I
we can hear you. We can hear
No,
you.
we can hear you.
Yeah, you're
We can
good.
hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
And it's pretty obvious
Yeah.
that the cannabis industry does not really want large Black participation. They really don't want that.
Yeah, no, and that's pretty much the summation of what I'm saying, is that you're going to need to get Black folks to get to some of these higher levels of education in order to be able to ultimately run and apply for these studies, especially if you're talking about studies that are going to go through the NIH, because there are cannabis studies currently going on in the NIH. So I mean,
Of course. Yeah.
so I mean, and those, like I said before, those you have to have someone that's typically the principal investigator has to be a PhD or doctorate of some kind. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hey, Mike, you plan on playing your hand in the cannabis industry?
Well, yeah, we did a live stream back in the summertime about guerrilla farming. I don't know if you saw that.
I think I seen a different one about the community plots and whatnot. I seen that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, guerrilla
that's the
farming.
one.
So that's what it's called, guerrilla farming.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
so with guerrilla farming, those vacant lots, I don't know how much you know about it, but those vacant lots had houses built on them pre-1970s. And so because of that, they use a lot of toxic chemicals for paint and whatnot within the houses at the turn of the century. And what the government found was that those toxic chemicals were actually affecting humans. And a lot of those houses that were brought down actually poisoned the soil. And so the property is not qualified to be a farm directly. So you have to turn that dirt over all the way down like 4 or 5 feet. And so because of that, it does cost a little bit of money, but there's 100,000 vacant lots in black communities across America that are available for pennies on the dollar to build these urban farming. Now, the approach I talked about on that live stream was that in talking with many of the urban farmers was that they can be repurposed for cannabis nurseries and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. See, I actually got two vacant lots, and I haven't really decided what I wanted to do with them yet. I'm really just keeping them clean, holding out. But I seen, I think on that same one, y'all was talking about Harbor Freight had a greenhouse.
Oh yeah, you can buy these greenhouses and kind of put them together from Alibaba.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you look up Harbor Freight greenhouse customization, like look up the shit on YouTube, like people make amazing greenhouses out of these things. You know, like you got to look at the greenhouse as just more of like a framework that you can, that if you really wanted to, you could build around it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can be had for like dirt cheap. I think like a 10 by 10 is like $129.
Yeah. See,
what kind of toxic chemicals do they have there? Oh, I'm sorry, Ty. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying my only thing is with doing anything like productive is the area that it's in, bro. Just keeping it real, man. Like,
well, you have to keep it real because I mean you're talking about real money, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, I mean, you know, well, look, I mean, any shrewd businessman is going to keep it real with that regard because what you can do on a given piece of property is going to determine how much money you can make from it, right? So, I mean, if you can't do something as simple as some fucking urban farming on the shit without
you can't. I'm just being real, bro. I got
this what I mean. Bro. It's like what of real value is it if you can't even use it to produce food for the goddamn people in the community and shit? It's like I would offload that shit. Well, or either that or I would offload it. I would offload it when the gentrifiers come in.
Yeah, I'm just
then you can get a whole lot for it.
I'm holding out, bro.
Yeah, hold on to it till like the shit.
I thought you had your hoopties all parked up in there.
Nah, bro, I got storage.
Storage. No, to answer your question, Nagone, radon and the lead paint and stuff like that soiled the dirt when those houses came down. So
radon, that permeates. That permeates a lot of ground. You would have to ultimately you'd have to really take a lot of that soil out of there.
Yeah, you have to dig it down at least 3 feet and then lay it down, lay down plastic on top of it, and then put wood chips on top of that, and then do another layer. You have to do 3 layers of it. That's a lot of money, man. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. What would be the cost for all those? Because she's saying pennies on the dollar. I mean, I think it's definitely worthwhile if you looking at what the cost would be to play in there. I think it's my view, I actually think it's worthwhile, but that is a lot of work. It's a lot, that would be a lot of work for people to do.
But you really got to think
And
about
maybe
it, right?
a contracting company could handle that. Maybe a contracting company could handle that, of which would be great to do. Or you could really set up a giant cooperative in that whole area where everybody could really pitch in and then have all that done and then run a cooperative business from there, which I think would really work. I think that would really,
that's what it is. That's how it's that's what's responsible for it, right? And you know, the other thing too, you have to kind of look at it as like, okay, like if you were out in sort of like the area where I'm at, where you know there's a good amount of agriculture going on, right? There's still costs involved with making the land suitable for agriculture, right? So you know, but in an urban environment, there's just like a different set of costs that are involved. So if you know, and the cost involved in this case is going to be land preparation in the form of, you know, soil removal, you know, and it has to be within all the guidelines. So 3 feet or deeper, you know, then plastic sheeting, then wood chips, then you can go and put in, you know, your topsoil, right? But there's going to be cost involved in that, just like there's going to be cost involved with tractors and you know farm equipment and stuff like that to essentially manicure and keep the land suitable for agriculture. So I mean, I'm kind of just looking at it, you know, kind of like an apples and oranges, right? Like there's going to be cost involved as it relates to this on you know, whether it's in an urban environment, even the stuff that that Ty City's talking about, like using greenhouses, for example. Okay, it's a whole you have to do more of the creating the grow environment for that. So there's going to be costs involved. We just mentioned Harbor Freight greenhouses because they're affordable, you know, but there's still going to be a lot involved with making that type of operation suitable for food production, and in a manner where the community can then turn around and sell it at the local farmers markets.
Yeah, when I said pennies on the dollar, we're talking whatever the back taxes are.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of those properties would be, most of that would be, because the city would have to have taken them. So, so that stuff wouldn't be in receivership or anything. That the city has actually taken them over. So, yeah.
Dude, we got all kind of empty warehouses out here this way too, man.
Oh, I can imagine how much asbestos and stuff must be up in there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would look into it. I'm pretty sure there's the city wants to offload that as well. It depends on how viable the structure is.
Right. This would be like a dock. A lot of them, they move into like these big hubs now. Amazon really kind of took all the good ones. And kind of push all these other docks, smaller companies into spaces where they have to share docks now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in that. So you asked me that question. That would be my aspect in it. Although you don't qualify, I found out this a few weeks ago at the NSBE meeting I attended. There's a brother who has 20 acres of land in South Carolina. He's trying to get this off the ground as well. Cannabis farm. You have to have at least 10 acres minimum to qualify for federal subsidies.
10 acres minimum, huh? That's all right. I mean, I know a lot of people in the South who have that kind of land.
Yeah. So I don't know how they would appropriate something like that when it comes to urban farming, right? Because let's say you have 30 lots. Does that count for 10 acres, or how does that work?
It would have to be counted that way. You would have to look at it from that perspective.
But they're not consistent. They're different neighborhoods and different cities, right?
Yeah, you ain't getting that off in Dallas.
I'm sure there's some loophole ways around it. You'd have to get a pretty sharp.
Wait. Say that again. What were you asking, Mike?
No, we were talking about the federal subsidies for farmers, right?
Okay.
And I talked to a brother the last NISBE event, and he said he has 20 acres down in South Carolina that he's going to try to convert over for cannabis. And he said that the federal minimum requirement is 10 acres.
Okay.
I don't think it applies for urban farmers because a vacant lot is not even an acre, right? You might have, we don't know if you can aggregate all of the lots that you do own as 10 acres, right, to meet the minimum requirement.
You might be able to if it's under maybe one corporation.
If it was, I was just about to say that.
Yeah. I think you might be able to do that. I'm not an attorney. I'm not one, but I'm saying it seems logical to me. I would hire an attorney to definitely come up with something that will be around that. That would be tough to beat. I think that could be negotiated. Anyway,
here's the thing. My thought on it would have to work. And I'm sorry. I'm going to gross. So my thought on it is, if all of the properties are under like a singular holding company,
yeah,
right, then what has to happen is that and don't take this as gospel, but this is just me and my kind of business dealings, kind of maybe understanding how something like this could be structured. Okay, there's a holding company that owns all the properties, but the commercial entity leases, right, a total space from them. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be in one location because it's under one lease. Yes, because it's under one lease.
That's right.
So if it's arranged a certain way, I think you could do it.
Yeah, that would seem very logical to me, and legally that would sound I think that would be on sound ground, but really an attorney would have to be involved to really tell you what that would be. But I believe that probably
needs to be written up a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that could be negotiated. I think we could definitely get around that. But as far as the urban farming is concerned, I think that's where things are really going to turn, because they're doing that in a lot of places and around the world. And I believe that this here is an extremely, extremely good option, extremely viable option, very viable.
That's at least how I would approach it. I would approach it that way.
I agree.
Yeah, I think anything is possible, man. I have to go back maybe in spring and talk to the Urban Farming Institute to try to figure out what's going on, how this would work, these subsidies. But I think there's a lot of opportunity, because I probably would not grow any vegetables, right? I'd be looking strictly at cannabis, and I'll be trying to throw up an actual greenhouse with some butterlate structuring.
Absolutely.
That's going to be able to handle hurricane winds, 65, 70 miles an hour. You don't want to throw up some janky stuff off of Alibaba and that thing falls down the street and gets sued or something.
Yeah.
For the butterlate stuff, you want to look up a company called Rimmel, IRMOL. There you go.
So yeah, to answer your question, Ty, man, that's what I think the land ownership is actually going to be a very important integral role. I know MOT talks about land out west, but if you're thinking about the urban areas and how you're going to flip those neighborhoods over, that's going to be one key area.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, the lots that I got, they tearing it out the frame.
Why is that?
They just ain't no way, bro. You growing? He growing cannabis down the street.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, fam.
No, that's where security comes in.
Yeah, you'd have to have security. You just wouldn't have it out there growing plants, because folks would be out there literally biting the plants out of the ground with their teeth and shit. So I know.
No, if there's a greenhouse over it, man,
that's how savage that would get to you.
That's going to involve some high-tech security, you know, ground sensors and cameras and motion
That's right.
detectors and stuff like that, man.
And people
Mm-hmm.
walking around and armed guards dipping around.
Yeah.
Yes,
Don't forget the dogs.
yeah.
All you gotta do is
A
put
couple
a,
of very live dogs.
Yeah. All you gotta do is put a strobe light on top of the 240Z. And just
Wow.
God.
The 240Z.
for real.
But yeah, I mean,
With a police livery, man. A
And they
livery.
fuck around breaking their smoking and turn out to be some bullshit.
I wouldn't doubt
They
it.
done jumped over the dog, got past the security guard, over the trip wire.
this all can be done. This is feasible.
No, I think it is feasible. I had a long conversation, you know, during that guerrilla farming, man. You know, he dropped some serious knowledge, man. They're doing this from here to Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
See, I think right now you could get about 10 acres outside of city limits. You
Mhm.
probably pay about somewhere around 80,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now these are going for 5,000 or less on the market, but it could only be used for urban farming.
Right.
The city wants to offload this property because they don't want it sitting on the books.
It's within their interest because then they can make money. They can start making money on the property.
Well, I was gonna say,
They
man,
got to carry on.
well, Mike, because I was gonna say, even the one that you guys are working on, that's gonna have a farm stand on it, right?
Oh, they already put in the water pumps and everything else, man, for irrigation.
That's
Yeah,
probably
I mean, but there's gonna be a farm stand there too, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you gotta look at this as like a new age bodega.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you take a shipping container. Mike mentioned this actually during the guerrilla farming hangout. You convert it into like a little small bodega. You have the stuff growing right there, and then not only that, but products that are derived from it can be sold after. You know what I mean? There's a whole like. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Wiccan food stamps is actually applicable to it.
You can. That's what I mean, dude. Like, yeah, that shit can actually be used at farmers markets. So even for people who are on low income, you know, food vouchers and shit like that, there really is no excuse or no reason why you can't be eating healthy and shit and buying shit that's organic and locally grown. You can use food stamps to buy that shit.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
And
they
the
don't take
UBI,
the
would apply too.
Yeah.
Who's that?
So I mean, go ahead.
I was just saying they don't taste as good as Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Oh, here you go.
God.
Shit.
Finished.
Oh man.
Surgeon
Damn.
General.
Dude, really?
Oh no.
So
That was terrible.
yeah. So this is the website, Urban Farming Institute. This is the website for Urban Farming Institute for those of you who are curious to know what we're talking about. The Urban Farming Institute of Boston's mission to develop and promote urban farming as a commercial sector that creates green collar jobs for residents and to engage urban communities in building a healthier and more locally based food system. So this is exactly what I've been talking about. I don't know if cannabis would be considered a part of the food ecosystem, but
Hemp would, because
Yeah.
hemp is under the Department of Agriculture, so hemp would.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. Don't they make you know cannabis? You know cannabis. How would I say confections and stuff? You know, don't they make that?
Yeah, infused goods, infused food items.
Yep. If you can make it on there, if you make it on the property, I guess that would qualify for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, as long as it's made on site.
Yep. So
Yeah.
we got SNL on the panel. Raise his hand. What's going on, bro?
Uh-oh. I think it's
Okay,
He's still in the back.
Somebody
I
got
didn't want to
something
ask
on his
Ty
neck?
City. What city was he in? What city did he have his property in?
Who? Ty City?
Dallas.
Dallas.
It's in the South Dallas.
Oh, South Dallas. Yeah, it's kind of randy over there.
Hell yeah, it's gully down there.
Yeah.
Trust me, bro. I'm just holding down, fam. All right. The investment's already been made.
Man, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
I'm
So, Mhm. Right. So they have these classes set up for those of you wondering, these workshops in the workshop 2020 Urban Farmer Training Program, 29-week course. And then they have an urban farmer training program for 9 weeks.
Well, I did want to make a brief comment about something that Complex said earlier.
Mhm.
He made a statement about universities being the only ones that have authorized farmland where they can grow that. He's absolutely correct in that regard. Your major universities, specifically your major private and state universities, tend to have quite a bit of land to buy, for their various departments, like their biology departments, their geology departments, whatever, and stuff like that. You have schools like in Illinois, like if you go to Southern Illinois, these are schools who very much have a program built around agricultural sciences and stuff like that. So they tend to buy up a lot of that farmland in those areas where they're able to train students and they're able to run, do studies and do research and stuff like that on local wildlife and just plants and growing stuff as a set aside. So just wanted to put that out there to just to confirm what Complex had said earlier.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, when you see those people doing all that urban farming, that's more like those are set up under like on a volunteer type basis, right?
It's a multitude of areas. So volunteers would be one, and then the others would be investors, community investors. So those who do live in that neighborhood would be the ones farming it and maintaining it. Then you have other people who are just construction builders who either have the know-how or whatever and can help construct certain things that we were talking about earlier, like the farming house.
Okay.
There's a lot that goes into that because what they're trying to do is create a more what they call it, shared economic model. That's what they're pushing up here big time, shared economics.
Okay.
So everybody has equal investment into it and equal opportunity to it. I did my volunteer work in the summertime, so I was a part of that as well.
Are they also referring to as the sharing economy?
Yeah, shared economics.
Yeah, I would think many of your major cities tend to have such programs happening within various communities. So I know where I'm at. They have quite a few of them going on where I'm at, and so yeah, these tend to be community driven projects or whatever. So
yeah. SNL is on the panel. What's going on, SNL?
I think they still got their foot on his neck.
I don't know if he knows he's
The white man capture him.
Solange tearing his ass up.
Yeah.
I thought this was funny until I got on the panel.
Yeah. SNL, can you hear us?
Is he just there just to be there or something?
He might be having mic issues himself. Saint Lunatics, can you hear us? One of Ty's favorite groups.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, actually, to the brother in the chat that talked about backup generators, a few days ago, Mike was going over some really good generators that
Generac.
yeah, that folks can utilize that are very efficient. Certainly can run small, medium-sized apartment buildings. So
Yeah, I don't know if Pookie and Ray Ray would be qualified, Cocaine Kells, to guard the greenhouse. He might
You might smoke or steal a product,
well
man.
he might get he might poop on the plants and then say that fertilizing it.
Yeah. Who gonna guard
Wait, wait.
Pookie and Ray? My question.
Wait, I think I heard somebody.
Yeah. So this is Mass trying to I was just trying to come in. My mic
There you
wasn't
go.
working very well. So
Okay.
I'm just enjoying the show.
Hey, what's going on, bro? Where you from?
So I'm calling from Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay, that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
That's what's
yeah.
up.
And so I've been an activist here in the local cannabis space for a few years, and I'm getting into the licensed biz as it unfolds here. And so y'all was right saying there's not really any real media, for folks like us. So naturally, I was attracted to Black Brain Trust.
Did you go down to Dudley for the initial to the bowling building?
So I don't know which one you're talking about, but I have been there before though. So I've been there before.
Yeah.
They got a lot of different events going on.
I mean, for the legalization of cannabis, when they started the social equity program, they had a
I think I was.
seminar.
Yeah, they came to Boston at least one time down there at the bowling building. I think I did attend one of those meetings.
I was in the first session, so I probably would have bumped into you.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
so they call me Chief, and I'm from Mass Bay Cannabis.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah, I was there the first session, and I know there was like 3 or 4 sessions.
This is what I wanted to share with y'all, because I heard y'all talking about the hemp and the farming and stuff. And, here in Massachusetts, hemp is very different. And so even CBD, and really what happened here in Massachusetts is a lot of these hemp farmers thought that they were going to be able to start their businesses, but the state really pulled a fast one on them. And really in the way that they classified them as agricultural farmers and stuff, they kind of made it illegal for them to sell their CBD on store shelves. And so these are the games that get played. And so really when we think about legalized weed, it's really not outdoor, at least in Massachusetts as much. I know it is in Oregon, but here in Massachusetts, it's a very specific legalized market, licensed market.
Yeah, it is. Because I saw that Tito Jackson's out there, on the front line trying to get his joint off.
I think it's really on all of us to kind of explore this new industry and see what it can do for our communities, man. If you're a business person and you have business interests in the community, then I think you should be exploring this industry and seeing how it matches up with your own, how you fit into it, and then welcome the industry so that you can benefit,
Have you found any traction for yourself in terms of like what's going on with the social equity program?
I mean, so I'm actually an economic empowerment applicant in the state of Massachusetts, but it's really just an outgrowth of the same advocacy that I've been doing for years. And, you can't really rely on one program to be the answer for you getting into the biz,
Right.
I think all that stuff helps, but you don't have to be a social equity certified person, this or that. It just helps if you have a plan, I think. And so, like I said, I know my way around the industry pretty well here in New England, and I'm looking to get into the license biz.
Yeah, I think that California is slated to be an $8 billion industry for 2019. And then you start talking about Washington and Colorado; those are multi-billion-dollar industries just this year alone.
Yeah, and what's really, really unique about this industry is it's so regional, right? And that's because all the products have to be made within state boundaries. And so this is really an opportunity, I think, for the local type of companies and businesses that people tend to say they want to support, you know? And so really the only national companies or brands, they have to still make their products within that state. So they can have whatever product they want. It doesn't matter. They still have to make it in the same state.
They
And so
license
that,
out to growers in the states, in those states to, yeah. Like they can't grow it in one place and then send it out, right? As a finished product to other,
not
growers.
at all, and not right now.
Yeah,
And,
right.
and
Yeah.
so that's really kind of shaping up what the industry looks like.
Right.
Yeah. So I think the regional aspect of the way that cannabis is emerging really provides opportunity for people to carve out small local parts of their market early. And, and we should be encouraging people to do that.
Yeah, it's a new market, but it's a very sophisticated one at the same time, right? Because regardless as to whether it's been legal or not, people have been smoking weed for a long time. So they're not, this isn't, and this is where I think a lot of these cannabis companies and individuals who are just really kind of looking to ride the wave, where they actually missed the mark, because you're hearing about a lot of cannabis investments that are just kind of gone dust up, and it just has a lot to do with the fact that people who smoke weed on a regular basis know their weed, and it's not like well, if I want a cola, I'm just going to go buy a can of cola. It's as much like how people want Coke, they want Pepsi, they want whatever. With cannabis, it's the same thing. You can't just, weed ain't just weed like that. Like there's different types that people have a preference for. Some people are lenient towards a certain type of sativa, or more people are just kind of middle of the road hybrid. Some people are on the indica side of the spectrum, and then on top of that is local strains. Local growers kind of like have a pulse for what the people who buy from him buy from them want, and it's really hard to realistically put your money into a company that really doesn't have a pulse on the buyer, on the average cannabis buyer. So that's where it's kind of like, yeah.
I just want to, and there are a lot of different ways to grow types of strains. Am I right?
Yeah. We were just talking, Zone, myself, and Engineering Cannabis. We was talking about that earlier. Mike was kind of mentioning like, using, like, for example, like compost or manure or something like that. And there's all these different methods. There's this one cat, and Zone, I don't know if you heard of this dude. He's been growing up over in like the Pasadena area, kind of over in that area. He has like a few strains that he does, man. He just has a lock-in on it, and he does it all under the brand Vegan Buddha. And he just has his own method, and my boy's like giving me like different samples of it, and I'm like, yo, this dude has like there's an interesting characteristic to all the plants that he grows. So some people they kind of have like their
I agree with you, Complex.
Like
I agree with you, but the way that these licensed markets are shaping up, like, so for example, here in Massachusetts, right, there's no way you would be able to use like manure or something on a product that would be finding its way, to like a medical dispensary or something, right?
Oh,
so,
no.
Like you would never see that, right? And that's what I'm saying. They're creating basically new markets, and it's just all new, right? It's not the same legacy and culture that we have. And that's why I'm saying, if we want to have any say in what's going to happen, because it's going to happen, then that's why I really encourage people to kind of take a piece of what is different. It's different. It's a licensed market, and it's a very different beast, but it's going to be there. It's going to grow. You know what I mean? And I think we have to kind of learn it and then take a piece. Otherwise, you know what'll happen, man. I mean,
just kind of like with a whole lot of other
yeah,
things.
I mean, and
You
so
get
it's
kind of
really to what
it
degree do
passes you
we
by.
allow it to go here and there before we try to own some culture there and, you know, control at least a percentage of the industry. And I think there's a
Right.
big opportunity regionally because of just what you're saying, right? It's really regional stuff that's gonna rise to the top every single time. I mean, so
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a legal. See, that's the thing. We don't have a legal framework in place in terms of a federal statute that basically says, you know, there's a uniform code for this shit across the states, right? Other than it's illegal, right? That's what you have right now. So everything has to be regional. And that's the thing. It's like, well, while everything's regional, you may as well get involved now and then pivot yourself to at some point in the future, if the United States decides to get a wit about itself at some point here in the future and say, hey, you know what? Canada's already, you know, the preeminent cannabis exporter on the North American continent. Mexico is poised to be second in line starting in 2020. And we're not even on a federal legalization level yet. So you're already going to be playing third fiddle.
well, that's what I think.
Right.
I think you nailed it, though. I think you nailed it because exactly people prefer local companies, right? And so if folks get out now early and establish local brands, let the market go and do what it does. They'll come
Yep.
right back to those local brands and you'll be more established than anyone else.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. Those type of easy maneuvers to take a piece of the market, I think are things that people can look at. So, and that's what I'm trying to do right here in Massachusetts, you know, because really the whole cannabis industry here has been a rush for real estate, which is
Yep.
a big money game.
That's where it's going to start.
Right. That's where it
it's
starts. A big rush for real estate. Well, then there's also other aspects to the trajectory of the market, right? Where brands come in, you know, and these companies start trying to become more efficient. And I think we're already seeing some of that now. And so the time is just like right, man, I think. And so, like I said, I'm moving to New England, and I hear New England isn't really the hottest markets. I'm here in Chicago and Michigan are some of the hottest markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We Chicago, Michigan, definitely.
Yeah. We covered Complex has his own channel, Business Wealth Power. He's been covering this stuff since 2017. So
Nice.
We started covering it because we kind of picked up where he left off. But you know,
y'all are killing it, man. I gotta give it to y'all, man. I
Thank
gotta
you.
give it to y'all for all the range of subjects y'all do though too.
Mhm.
Y'all are killing it.
I'm from Boston myself, so I can relate to a lot of what you're saying.
And I got to tell you, I'm going to give a shout out to my brother Complex up in here. His grow game is butter laid, and his cannabis and his hemp game is mighty tight as well. I can speak.
I can tell Complex knows what he's talking about.
Nah. Complex, he's dead on
he knows
his
what he's
shit.
talking about.
He's dead on it. He's dead on it. He and his young partner, Anti-Grav. These guys are not playing around. These guys are on it. They are on it. I can vouch for that first hand.
Yeah, I've spoken with a couple of guys about this stuff earlier this year up in Cambridge at the WeWork over in Harvard Square or Central Square, and we were having this sort of roundtable discussion about the legalization of cannabis and how it's going to impact. And we're talking about delivery vehicles, armored vehicles, drone technology, patented drones and stuff like that. So for delivery of cannabis.
Well, that's the thing. So here in Massachusetts, we got 2 years exclusivity for social equity and economic empowerment licensees in delivery only. So all the delivery licensees, we got a 2-year exclusive window.
Yep, definitely. And a lot of the mayonnaise businesses, man, they're pretty upset about that, man. They feel like they're losing a lot of bread on it, but we ain't getting no bread out of it yet.
And they're gonna make sure that window is as small and as tight and as fast moving as possible, man. You know how this goes. Mm-hmm. And really it's our job to open it up. And so you're right. And there's really not a model for cannabis delivery yet in New England. And so, you know, it's up to a few pioneers and folks that's really willing to sacrifice a little bit and put their necks out to create those businesses. But if they're going to do it, they better do it in the next 2 years here in Massachusetts.
Yeah, we was chopping up that game with the city council up in Cambridge about that, and he said there's not enough real estate available, and a lot of Black people don't have enough upfront costs for brick and mortar businesses. And my suggestion and alternative was that maybe we should go to a food truck model where you have dozens of food trucks that are designed around the cannabis business model.
I love it, but Boston in this region has one of the absolute worst places to conduct a food truck. I mean, and this place is just not hospitable. The business environment, they don't like them. And I mean, if you look at it, Boston will come up as the #1 worst place to have a food truck.
Well, I'm talking about as a cannabis truck where you can actually park. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, do you guys have enterprise zones there?
We do. It's listed, but I don't think anybody's taking advantage of it. Right? I think Roxbury has several areas that's considered to be an opportunity zone.
Because if you have that, then you can bring those, that cannabis business underneath an umbrella of an enterprise zone, and you might be able to get.
Well, all deals are off with cannabis, right? All deals are off with cannabis because they got special zoning, they got special rules. They're gonna pop out of the bushes and say, no, you can't do that. So all rules are off on this one.
Yep. Are you sure that would be the case with the enterprise zone? Really?
Yeah, it is. He's right about that, and that's why I brought up.
I'm just asking because I do not know, so I'm just I'm clueless, so I'm just.
This
asking.
is some really bloody elbows politics here in Massachusetts, man. And there's like this municipal versus state fight all the time.
Yep.
That goes back to licensing for alcohol here, so they got a kind of a different culture. How they do these things.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I brought up the whole entire food truck business model, because it can get around a lot of that stuff. But like you said, it's the bloody elbows, man. They everybody's throwing elbows and punches. So
yeah, and I think that people just moving for position. But what I was trying to hint at is that I don't think those folks are going to be very comfortable with roving delivery trucks, especially when we got 2 years exclusivity. And this is kind of some of the issues we're dealing with, all this NIMBY stuff, NIMBY stuff.
Very interesting. Good information, SL.
How did you find us, SL?
Oh man, I'm always combing the internet for folks that's, know what they're talking about and that are for, the advancement of Black folks. It's talking about the issues that matter, economics, stuff like that. These are the type of things I'm into. These are the things I support. I see, a cannabis industry as an industry that some folks may be able to capitalize on and really own an industry for themselves. And that's tremendous. That's absolutely tremendous. And so if we have just a few little regions of political power, even if we're just able to sequester a certain percentage of dollars in communities, it's tremendous. It's huge. So I'm all in and I'm trying to make it what it can be.
Indeed.
What are some of the challenges that you're seeing right now, currently in 2019, in terms of like economic empowerment?
Well, economic empowerment is a specific thing. You're saying, I want to be a licensee, right?
Yeah.
Which isn't the only way to make money. And frankly, these licensee models being weighed on heavily with taxes, they're coming at you all over the place for money. And we're not sure how profitable these things are. These big companies are starting to tank. They're starting to tank because they've been spending too much money. They've been acting like they know what they've been doing, but they don't know what they're doing. They've just been spending money.
Yeah, they're
and
operating
now
like
they're like, wait a minute, we're not gonna make our money back for a couple of years. And people are like, what are you talking about? You said you were gonna make billions of dollars in weed.
Yep.
And they've been setting up this weird thing with Apple stores of weed and all this other. They don't get it. They don't get it. And they're gonna try to do the Walmart, and it's gonna fall back to the locals again, like it always does, because that's how it works.
It's just saying this earlier in the chat, bro. Like good shit.
Yeah, so we need like a commit. Well, there is a committee now. I think, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, SNL. What's the name of it?
there's going to be a lot of groups, and you got to understand these are business associations now.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
You know
course.
what I'm
Oh
saying?
yeah. Oh
These
yeah.
are trade
Oh,
associations.
Mm-hmm.
These are
I mean,
networked organizations.
yeah, and you know, you know, a lot of them, because you know, there's some that we have, you know, some level of involvement with. There's one in which we're applying to be, you know, head the chapter for the state of Minnesota. You know, and within these groups, there's people who have interests from varying angles. One of the angles that we've actually been looking to explore a bit more is like the you know, the blockchain and cryptocurrency side, because you know, unbeknownst to people, there's a lot of cryptocurrency activity as it relates to this industry going on right now. And
Because
if you
the
want,
banks, don't want to do business with
there
the
you go.
cannabis industry.
There you go.
It's really
So,
attractive. Crypto's really
right.
attractive, but right
It's
now in
it,
Mass, we got a
well,
federal a federal grand jury.
well, I mean, the thing about it is that, you know, like I said, it's in that gray area, but it's a lighter shade of gray than what you would be taking on if you actually did some transaction with some greenbacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
You
think
know,
crypto and cannabis go together, man. I
they
think
go
crypto
together, and
cannabis go
there's
together.
been too many papers, too many studies, too many, you know, news stories done on how really, if you're to apply blockchain, cryptocurrency, and cannabis, and well, hemp and cannabis, it is a good commodity to start on the blockchain.
Yeah.
Right. You know, that was like their whole position on it. You can go to Crypto Slate, and they have a whole entire section devoted just purely to cannabis. They have, you know, all of their news feed is just filled with all the latest stories and, you know, goings on, you know, in the industry from a domestic and international standpoint. And then they're listing and reporting on all the activity for all the damn cryptos. There's links to view their ledgers, everything.
Yeah. Yep. It's really interesting. Like I said, here in Massachusetts, just recently, there the federal attorney general, federal lawyer, investigator just called for all the cannabis records through the whole state. He's going to be reviewing them all, and then they're going to have a grand jury in just a few days. This week, they're going to have a grand jury on like public corruption in the cannabis industry here in the state of Massachusetts.
Wow.
They're yanking everybody's paperwork from a whole bunch of towns.
Public corruption, huh?
They're going to review it all. The Fall River mayor's already in jail.
Damn.
So
yeah,
people
no,
are
it's going
paying
down.
everybody under the table to cut deals.
And so now the feds
right?
are coming in. Now the feds are coming in. And see, this should be their nightmare. And this is kind of what I was saying the whole time. These big companies don't know what they're doing. If you're under the protection of state licensed cannabis, but you bring the feds in, you don't have protection anymore, dude.
Nope.
If your paper,
no, you don't.
If the whole thing was you're safe in your state as long as you're good with the state. But if you're not good with the state, then you forfeit to the feds. Everything.
Yeah, and not only
and that means
not only that, but
there
the
must
Fed
be
is
some
going to
racketeering going.
well, not only that, but the Fed is going to make a determination as to whether the state is policing it to
Properly,
they'll reserve the right ultimately. So even if because look, you have certain municipalities who, if they're getting paid off from top to bottom, okay, as a whole, there really isn't much interest, right, in making sure that things are running according to what they need to be running at. You see, so
if
there's
wouldn't
Uh-oh.
I would just want to know if the state, you know, if now the federal government that doesn't have any, that still looks at this as a schedule, it's a certain schedule type of drug, wouldn't they be able to come over and take over the state and shut everything down within the state possibly?
Well, what they would do, no, because look, you have this. Okay, the state has its guidelines, right? Well, you know,
but the federal government,
The way
I
that
think
the agreements work for establishments here in Massachusetts is you got to get an agreement as a company with a local town, and you got to get all this paperwork and then apply it to the state. If at any point any of that paperwork is no good, then you don't have the protection from the feds that the state gives you.
Right. They
Yeah,
force
you don't want
the
the
state.
You don't want the Fed coming in, man. That's the last thing you want. That's the last thing.
Because the Fed doesn't necessarily slap the state on the wrist. They're basically going to slap you on the wrist.
Yeah, they're coming after you, saying you're an illegal enterprise.
Yep.
They're coming after you. These are against federal laws now. Now, this is that agreement that they may have between the states and the Fed, or a tacit agreement might be totally erased. And now they're coming after you on some federal shit.
That's what I'm saying. If
that's
there's
your
corruption
ass.
in the agreement, then that agreement's no good. And then any protection you have goes, and now the feds come down on everybody. And that's exactly what's happening here.
They're looking at it like racketeers, like you're running a racket.
Yep.
It's a whole different type of game. It's not good. That's
cannabis companies down, and that's what happened. And that's kind of what broke the whole thing.
Pretty scary.
Yeah, he was just demanding companies give him all kinds of money.
Yeah. Who was that in the chat that asked about that? Oh, Jamal Williams. I was sharing the screen so that you can see what a container farm looks like. And I think this is in Boston right here.
Oh yeah.
It looks like Roxbury behind the old flower exchange. But this is what a two-tier farm would look like, or a container farm would look like.
Let me take a look at that. Mike, blow it up a little bit, Mike.
I think those trailers are roughly $100 grand or something, probably kitted out.
Well, kitted out, but you could buy your own for shit. What, $1,500?
Yeah, no,
$1,000.
That's why they're killing it with those things.
Yeah,
right.
Because they don't take them back on those ships. They'll sit there until they're sold.
I don't know how much bud one of those things will put out. I'd have to do the square footage.
Yeah.
I bet it's nice though.
Kind of looks butter laid.
I think those things are about 320 square feet. So a 40-foot is about 320 square feet. So roughly.
Okay. So
I like it.
So you stack on top of each other, you're getting that 640, and then
each one is its own little controlled environment. You got digital operation from your cell phone, water, light, air, everything. Video, right?
Yeah.
And then you're talking about using Alexa or one of these other machine learning applications that can actually control it.
Yeah, man.
Right.
I heard these things are a good business just to do local vegetarian stuff.
Oh, actually building it for cannabis use though.
Yeah, no, that's a killer too. That's a killer.
Yeah. Now you're talking about taking one of these containers, separate, isolating it, and turn it into a what do we talk about? Complex.
That's what
urban laboratory
they was doing.
Laboratory. Yeah, because you would have like one grow facility, one laboratory, or one for a laboratory, and then one for a packing facility.
Yeah. So there's a lot of opportunity that can come out of this, and I think brothers can actually lock the game down with these little niche factor products and alternatives. What do you think, SNO?
I mean, the whole business model's right there in that trailer, man. I mean, it's too easy. And you could tell your investors so easily, whether they're your family or whatever. Look, this is how it works. We get a trailer, it puts out X amount. This is what the licenses cost. This is what the parking lot costs, I mean, I think it's really that simple for folks to get into it. And the folks that really just figure it out, and make those mistakes and errors and learn and grow and get better, they're going to learn that stuff before the rest of them.
Right. SNL, did you hear anything about utilizing that free space that's under the expressway, under the bridges?
I heard that they had held an event over there and they're looking at kind of activating some of these parts of the city, but I don't know to what extent they're looking to put cannabis or something like that.
Well, yeah, you can stick these containers right up under there, and they don't need sunlight, right? Because you get all your sun from you get all your light from the.
I think
LEDs.
they even have a solar piece on there or something.
Yeah. I mean, you would need that because you don't have any drop electricity, any utility being dropped to it, right? So you're going to need batteries for it. So that means you're going to need a power
you could
wall.
probably bring electricity
Power
to
wall.
a parking lot.
Well, some of these, like I know one guy who's got an operation going on out in Desert Hot Springs, and he's using containers.
Yep.
Right. So they got a diesel generator out there and a battery backup system.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's only going to use maybe roughly 22 kilowatts at best, maybe 18 kilowatts at best.
If you're tying in solar and you're in a place like Desert Hot Springs, look, man, solar is going to produce a good majority. You're honestly, if you've got like a solar and power wall setup, and then you have an on-site diesel generator, your diesel generator is the backup.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But if you've got plenty of space, like if you're going out, if you've got plenty of space to collect solar and you get a fairly good amount of sunlight, you could largely power it on solar energy.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to have diesel. You can talk about a propane generator because that's what a Generac mostly is.
Yeah.
And that could last for a month. Or just
I'm just saying, like,
and you're running it fairly cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you're not
I think
really.
these
I mean,
containers
your
are just
costs.
uncomfortable to work in. I think that's it. I think as you grow, your staff is going to ask for more space. I think that's basically what it is.
You buy more containers, man.
Buy more containers.
At $1,000 for 320 square feet, I don't know where you're going to find that sort of.
Yeah, I don't think there's a more efficient. I don't know how you get more efficient unless you're growing with the sun and some other stuff.
Yeah,
this is a different product.
Yeah.
These containers, they have yards of these, bro, out here.
Yeah, because when the ships come from China and these other countries and they drop their goods off, they don't
go back.
Yeah, there's no export market like that here.
No, once they're built to ship once, and that's it. They don't want them back either. So
it's like $1,500 to $5,000 for one of them sizes, right?
A 40-foot is going to cost you about $1,500. A 20-foot is going to cost you a little under $1,000.
That's short money, man. That's short money, dude.
Yeah.
And it's already
that's short money.
It's corrosion resistant too.
Well, you got to make sure you got to make sure you get the right one because some of those things carry nuclear waste.
Yeah, the stuff that they ship, some of them.
Yeah, they carry nuclear waste.
It's the kit that you upgrading with that's really going to cost the bread there because you want that thing dialed in.
Well, we have a member of the Black Brain Trust, Young Grizzly, who has worked on this.
Young Grizzly.
Yeah, he's been working on this for over a year. He's already automated his container.
Wow.
Yes, that's awesome.
Shout out to Young Grizzly.
Yep. He's actually the person who came up with the name, the Black Brain Trust. So that's how we got the name. But he's been working on this for about a year.
Oh, y'all are on top of it then, man. Y'all are on top of it all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is a business model though that's actually going to be
I really like it.
viable.
It's more attractive to me. This is more my style. I'm not the big money guys. This is the local style for me, man.
Yeah, it only costs probably about $500 to deliver it because you got to put it on the back of a truck and have it.
Man, this makes a
over.
lot of sense.
Yeah,
man,
I mean they're really secure with the metal. Like I said, I think it's just a logistical thing when you're taking care of a bunch of plants, But I guess you figure it out. You figure out how to be efficient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do think an actual investment in this is probably good. You're talking anywhere between 25 maybe 30 grand up front with all the parts and labor and stuff like that from your Alibaba and whatever place you're gonna.
That's still pretty short as well for a startup in a business or something like this that could potentially bring you in millions.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially,
you get some Prius batteries from a total Prius, a salvage Prius, and pull the batteries out and repurpose them.
Mm-hmm.
Throw the batteries on top of the container roof.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a Tesla or something. But how many square feet are those containers?
A wrecked Tesla.
Anywhere between 320 to 640 square feet.
I mean, it's basically a automated grow facility at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, how much
Bingo.
do people really have to come in? I mean, you still got to take care of the plants, but I mean, with all that stuff going on and so much control, you really need less staff too.
Yeah.
Well, you have to worry about bugs and stuff.
No, well, it's sealed. It's sealed off. You won't have to worry about that.
That's
I mean, they got
that's what makes
filters, air systems. I
Yeah,
mean,
I was
they
gonna say
got,
that's what makes these things expensive because they're retrofitted inside, man. There's like
yeah.
paneling, it's sealed, and yeah, it's a sealed environment.
Yeah, this is actual environment here. From my understanding, they're seeing rapid growth within days.
So could you make money with lettuce with these things though, or is
Yeah.
it too expensive
Hell
for
yeah!
lettuce?
Oh
Yeah.
no, man. Especially like if you did microgreens, man, because there's a lot of money in microgreens.
Mm-hmm.
People pay that much for microgreens to pay for? I mean, I guess they do. I don't know.
If they think it's locally grown, then yeah, they will pay for it.
See how
a
the
dude
local
on-
wins out again. That's why cannabis is a killer, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube, man. He makes like $9,000 a month growing microgreens in his closet, and he like breaks down, he chronicles how he does it.
$9,000 a month with the grow in his closet, bro.
Yeah, growing microgreens like wheatgrass and stuff like that.
Damn, that's all right, man. That's all right. That's pretty good.
Selling to restaurants or something.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
All the juice shops and all that. Yep.
Yeah, they got to green them up or put them in the smoothies, right?
Yeah. Or they just do it like a wheatgrass shot.
Yeah. But how many plants, marijuana plants, do you think you fit in these containers? I assume roughly about 20 max.
No, yeah, you're probably talking
I
at
think
the
they
bare
adopt
minimum.
I don't think they grow big plants in these things. I think they grow small plants, a whole lot of small plants in these typically. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so what's that maximum, about like 20 pounds per container or something?
I don't know. I think the square footage would have to tell you whatever you just do the math with the lights. I don't know what it would look like, but the math is pretty
I mean,
straightforward.
since it is a shipping container, I assume you can maybe grow 3 seasons in there. So, like,
4
is it-
seasons.
Perpetual, man. Perpetual.
Yeah,
setup
4
with
seasons.
multiple rooms.
Yeah, I mean,
Wait,
Yeah.
Zone, three seasons. How long do you go from grow to harvest?
well, typically I have 3 rooms. So I have 1 room for clones, 1 room for veg, and another room for flower. So after the flower is done, I put in a new plant and it continues to grow. I do that maybe 3 times per room.
So you get like 3 cycles in a year?
Yeah, 3 cycles per year per room. So
Per room.
it's a total
Right.
of 9 cycles.
Okay,
So it's
gotcha.
typically yeah.
So wait, you're harvesting what? So your grow cycle is what? 4 months? 12
It's about
weeks?
3 to 4 months.
I'm sorry, months. Like 4 months. They get about 3 to 4 months. Well, so on the kind of close to 4 months, going from
Yeah,
veg
So-
to the clone room to the harvest room.
oh
You're
no,
harvesting once a month, or twice a
No,
month?
What it is, it's every 4 months.
yeah. So I usually swap out the plants afterwards and then add a new plant in, because I already have like a room just with clones and veg, all just set aside, ready to swap in once a set of plants is already done flowering.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I've mainly just done outdoor for the most part. So, it's put
You
them
only have
in.
1 season since you're outdoors.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
That's why I started clipping on mine earlier this week, like Thursday, it was like Wednesday or Thursday. I clipped off some buds. I said, if I could use my camera on this thing, I can't, for whatever reason, Zoom blocks out my camera. But I would show you guys some of the buds.
I think I might have disabled anybody using the camera.
Okay, yeah, no, but I know because of the whole, rules with YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but no, I got some, man. I burned some of it for the first time earlier today, man. Nothing like homegrown.
It's SNL. You mentioned earlier that, maybe the employees might get a little bit tired of the space. This looks like a lot of space for them.
That looks good there. That looks really healthy right there. Just it depends how you set it up. They got a vertical thing going there.
Yeah.
Marijuana doesn't
Yeah,
grow like that.
Right. So, I mean, you could probably force it to do that.
Yeah, but it would take a lot of time to manicure the plant.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
Yeah,
I think you
have to-
do these sea of green type of setups in these places and keep it simple.
Zone, how many crops do you do? Like when you how many levels do you crop?
Like, what do you mean by cropping? Like cutting the top?
Yeah, like how many?
Wow,
Like how?
look at that.
Maybe just once only.
Well, it's only so you get
Gimbal
two
mouse. Whoa.
shoots, and then you just let it bush out from there.
Yeah, pretty much, because I'm growing in a warehouse, so I can grow it as high as I wanted to.
Right. Okay.
Get out of here.
Yeah, that one picture, Mike. So they're using LEDs.
LED sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the doing the HPS bulbs, whatever it's called.
Man, it's a lot of energy, man.
Yeah, but I tax write it off as business expense.
That's a hell of a tax write-off, dude. I did one grow in my closet with an HPS light. It was like a 400 watt. Man, in 1 month, dude, my fucking bill shot up like an extra 100 something, 100 like $65 or some shit. My roommate was like, "What the fuck, dude?" I was like, "I got it, man." He's like, "I ain't paying for that shit." I
I'm
was like,
growing
"Yeah,
good
so-
weed, man.
Yeah. No,
So-
yeah, that was the first and last time I used HPS.
Yeah. So it said it's 320 square feet.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you can grow a lot of plants in there.
It depends, man. It depends on how you articulate it, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if Zone, if you grew like very mature clones, I'm talking like these are like full on like bushes. Okay, you're gonna go for volume. Like you're just gonna go for max yield out of each plant. I mean, and if you're doing like kind of like craft or top shelf, you're aiming for exclusivity. Okay, look at sort of like the cost for running something like this as opposed to like a traditional grow op, and what you could get for the yields that you get. I mean, it may make sense. You have to really kind of angle it. You can't really just go for like mass commercial market, and you're only working with 320 square feet. Sorry, that's my dog. With 320 square feet of space.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but for like a dispensary, that strain would just go out pretty fast. I mean, you'll have to charge a very expensive rate
Right.
in order to be profitable. That's the thing.
That's why you gotta have like some
And
really
most
good shit.
people wouldn't pay that much. I mean, $60 just for a gram. I don't think so.
I mean, this dude has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Probably has about a dozen of these containers sitting in a lot.
Okay, now Zone. Now it makes sense.
I mean, this is Elon Musk's brother.
Oh, word?
Yeah, that's nuts. That's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to figure out how much everything will cost. I mean, well, this is LEDs. I mean, it's not like HPS or something like that. That's why it's cheaper
Right.
to grow. Plus, you don't need like a very expensive air conditioning system to cool down those HPS bulbs.
Yeah, 'cause
thanks for the
HPS
conversation, gentlemen. I got to step off. I really appreciate it, and I'll
that's
try
what's
to
up,
check
man.
in.
Thank you thank you
when
for
I
dropping
see y'all
through.
again. Yep.
Hey, have a good one, brother.
See you later.
I'm actually going to get off myself.
Okay.
If anybody else has anything they want to contribute before.
No, I think everyone's like gone already.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Great hangout, guys. And good night.
All right. Shalom.